Hello and welcome to another video. So today we're taking a look at unlimited RuneCraft. This is in particular Daria craft. There's not really a big change from the deck other than adding in, of course, the core. That's probably the most important change as far as it goes, because it does become basically a free turn 3, turn 4 setup with Magic Owl to really spell boost a heap of things in your hand very quickly. Also drawing cards with the insights, giving you basically effectively, in this variation, 7 insights to play, which is pretty nuts. Overall though, I've found that Daria is about a 50-50 for this deck overall. As far as it goes, you really do need to high roll hard, and that's always been a problem with Daria, but I do feel like the current meta now has shifted to a point where Daria is being outvalued in the early game, which is never a good thing unless, of course, you do massively high roll. So let's get right into this and take a look. So the first game here is actually against Sword. This was actually a Grand Prix game. I've got one Grand Prix game, one normal game, as unfortunately my Grand Prix run with this deck was very hit or miss. I'd usually become within one turn of getting lethal with this deck, and then of course get crushed by something that was what I would consider absolutely broken, whether it be, of course, super aggressive blood decks or just super aggressive sword decks most typically. For the most part though, this deck can perform fairly well if it gets that solid early game play that you need. Starting off something like Magic Missile to deal with the early game board pressure is usually really good and usually something I like to do. Centaur Vanguard, not really a problem again. Magic Missile and things do a wonderful job with those, although I'm not really worried about taking a little bit of damage this turn. Especially since Magic Missile next turn is a guaranteed kill on it. The real problem now is having no play to line up with that and keep going, which is a little disappointing. But I really want to get the core set up so I could play the Owl and double core, giving us a massive hand. It's just a pity we didn't have some better spell boosts, as we can easily get 6 spell boosts from this turn alone. So it would have been absolutely insane if we had a much better hand. But for the most part, this still wasn't a bad one. So now we've kind of taken the initiative away from our opponent. They are going for Albert. Really no shock there at all. I'd be more shocked if they didn't use Albert, considering we're at 10 health, and that's right within range of some of their more threatening cards. There's not a lot we can do though, other than of course try to kill this off. We have to put ourselves in a little bit of risk and sacrifice just a little. I mean, next turn we have Zealot, which is going to be okay, so that's not bad. The Viking play is definitely good, going for 5 damage, but it's not really going to be enough by the looks of this. A Magic Missile plus, of course, Zealot and Enhance is going to be plenty once we get it all out here. Probably should have honestly went for the sword first, since the spell boost would have been easier, but that's worked out just fine. And the next deck we're up against is Portalcraft. It's definitely cemented itself in Unlimited fairly well with the, of course, nerf changes and new cards added. I was interested in how they'd make it viable in Unlimited, and they did a pretty decent job at making Artifact Portable quite viable. I've been messing around with a few builds overall, and it's definitely a reasonably solid deck. Our opener is not great though. Zealot and Blade Major is okay along with the Enchanted Sword, but having no turn 1 play and a reasonably weak turn 2 play against Portal here is definitely not going to help us. It would have been better if we had got the Insight and then the Glow. But Insight into Angel kind of makes up for it a little bit. Even though the Angel could have been used better, for example right now. But getting it out on curve was definitely more important to me at that point. And actually worked out okay anyway, since we did get another Angelic Snipe to round out this turn for exactly 3 play points. Again though, not using everything super optimally, that's more fault of trying to spell boost these more favourably than anything else. And we've actually got some really good draws. These spell boosts have been going right our way this time, which is great. We're actually going to have a really good Owl turn next turn, if that's what we want to do. We could use almost the entire hand. So now it's just a matter of divvying up our points here to really take this board by storm. So a Magic Owl will spell boost all of these nearly down to 0. Especially once you add the insights on top. Go to use those points where you can. And now we just divvy up the points the best way we can. To try and keep as much alive as possible. I think we did a fairly decent job of that. We do still have the Knowledge, Golem, and Blade Mage, so we're definitely not in any major trouble yet. And at best here, they're going to take out 2 followers. And of course, aiming for the strongest attackers was the right move, but might not be the most practical one in the long run. Since there isn't much that we need now to really start swinging this game in our direction, we just need to line up a couple of nice cards with these evos and really work our way up. Especially with Enchanted Sword. Zealot of Truth and Enchanted Sword are going to be a pretty powerful combination of cards. But it does look like we're going to lose everything, so that's a little disappointing. Ancient artifacts and analyzing artifacts usually pretty dangerous. Luckily they didn't really have anything else, so they have to use this Evo, which is good news for us. They're burning more cards, which is also reasonably good for us. So I've decided to favour the missile play. We just want to deviate as much from this board as we kind of can. There's not a lot we can really do other than spell boost now. And since we have Core and Magic Owl, we can actually use those 2 together, which in turn will give us a pretty good edge next turn. It's just a matter of surviving. That's really all that's going to be crucial here. It's surviving this turn to win next. So Biofab, that's a bit dangerous to see go up. At least we can set up the ward. And now we just kind of hope that we can survive the next one. So I tried to take the best advantage I could by setting up something to sacrifice and setting up something they have to put a lot of resources into, while hopefully allowing us to run wild next turn with Core, Magic Owl, and Conjure Golem. Not getting Daria was a fairly big disappointment, to be honest, most of these matches, as really she's a great core card to get when you need her, and if you can get her in your open hand, getting her to 0 is very, very easy. It was more of a disappointment that I wasn't able to do that than anything, but this deck still showed itself as a really strong spell boost deck for the most part, as long as of course you can hit those high rolls. For this match it was much more of a medium roll, which was definitely disappointing. But in this situation, if we don't play something, we're pretty much guaranteed to lose, so we don't have much chance. I was tempted to go for the Conjure Golem, well, the Conjure Guardian, sorry. If I had went for that, I feel like I would have been putting myself at risk either way, as they only needed to pull up a attacker and they could potentially win, so I think the move I made was definitely the right one for my situation. Missile, lowering them to 3, now I'm relying purely on draw power here. Ooh. The glow is nice, and the snipe is nice, and it's just going to be enough now thanks to our legendary top decks with Blade Mage. It's the main guy I was aiming for, and luckily pulling him did give us the victory, so ended up in our favour just slightly. So it's games like that that really show how 50-50 this deck can be. Sometimes it does just come down to a good draw and favourable options. Sometimes Daria is definitely great, since it is primarily a Daria RuneCraft deck. But, of course, winning with the other combination of cards, things like Enchanted Sword, Zealot, and Blade Mage are really, really simple when you can get them to all flow in your hand correctly, but it's very easy to brick, so definitely want to keep that in mind if you're going to use this deck. Otherwise, I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, hit the like button and subscribe. Until next time, see ya.